Problem is reconciling the idea of turning the other cheek with the idea of a just war, a defensive war, or an expansive war for that matter. And of course that issue is relevant to Islam because Islam exploded outward and produced the biggest empire the world had ever seen.
As the world stands today, there are 15 million Jews and 2 billion Muslims. That's a huge difference in numbers. Why is it that the Jewish people are always in small numbers? And look how quickly Islam grew to be 2 billion of Islam. But yet the Jewish nation, we are at about the exact same number of Jewish people that were here just before the Holocaust in the 40s. So this is an interesting conversation, which please listen to, about how and why Islam grew so rapidly in such a short amount of time compared to Judaism, but also understanding the fundamental difference between the two. Please subscribe to this channel to help us continue on spreading a little bit of light to push away a lot of darkness.
It presents us with a problem, doesn't it? I mean, it presents everyone with a problem. And the problem is, well, for example, the problem is reconciling the idea of turning the other cheek with the idea of a just war, a defensive war, or an expansive war for that matter. And of course that issue is relevant to Islam because Islam exploded outward and produced the biggest empire the world had ever seen in the space of a few short centuries.
Yeah, but Dr. Jordan, please.
So then you ask, well, what's the spirit? What is the spirit that animated that? And is that attributable to the Islamic doctrines themselves? Yes, I don't know the answer to that.
No, let me tell you the answer to that, okay? And this is what I want to tell you conclusively, and this will help build bridges, honestly, because we can maintain the warlord thesis, we can maintain the expansionist thesis. But here's what I'll tell you. Islam has a capability to be expansive, and it also has a capability of making peace treaties. And it does, and it should do whatever's in its best interest. Just like every country should do whatever's in its best interest. In the pre-modern world, we did not, I think this is highly anachronistic. In the pre-modern world, there was no such thing as the UN. It was a realist international relations framework whereby everybody was fighting everyone. The Roman Empire didn't care about it didn't care about you, quite frankly. It was expanding itself. The Persian Empire was expanding itself. And the Arabian Peninsula was in between both. And so it could have either been swallowed by those two other empires, or it could decide to, in fact, we will impose our government on them before they impose it on us. And it decided the former rather than the latter. It decided to expand. And in fact, the Prophet, in his weakest of times, he predicted that would happen. You know, there was one war in particular where they were starving, and it's called Khandaq. And he hit a rock and he said, Futihat Rum, the Roman Empire has been conquered. He hit a rock again. He said, Futihat Faris, that the Persian Empire has been conquered. And then he knocked the rock again. He said this in his weakest moment. He said that the Yemen has been conquered. I see that the expansion of the Islamic Empire is a proof for Islam. And you know, it's not just me. Even historians say this. Barnaby Rogerson, he said the fact that Islam spread to the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire is equivalent to is equivalent to Eskimos taking over Russia and America. I believe it's miraculous, if anything, that this happened. I don't think it's unjustifiable. I think actually, Jordan Peterson, to be
then
completely
why
honest
did
with
it
you,
stop at why did it stop at Europe's borders, so to speak? If it was a miraculous expansion,
yeah, it stopped out because of it wasn't successful there. It wasn't. It stopped where it couldn't go further.
And when we think about the difference between the religions, between Judaism and Islam, how where there's two sides of the polar, how our religion which is recorded as the oldest religion since Mount Sinai, 3,336 years ago, 37 years ago, has lasted all this long, and we've been true to the same identical letters and words of the Torah. And what is Judaism about? It's about life. It's about the living. It's about promoting life, about bringing life, and recognizing that there's one God in heaven, and recognizing that each one of us is created in God's image, that each one of us can be an ambassador of good to be in this world, and realizing that the day we were born, God said the world can no longer exist without you. So each one of us is created with uniqueness, with specific missions. to preserve the earth, to preserve life, to promote life. Versus what happened to Islam has been hijacked by its radical and with its doctrine of that it needs to kill every infidel, that it needs to have world dominion, and it's become a death cult. And you think about it, if you got 2 billion Muslims, even if only 1% are radical, it's huge numbers. So what we need to recognize and realize that we are all children of God, and we all need to begin appreciating each other as God's children and accept each other, even though we may not have the same belief systems, the same theological belief system. It doesn't make us different. Just because you believe something different than I believe, it doesn't make us different. It's okay. We all have our part in this world. In the human being, there's the brain, there's the heart, there's the kidneys, there's the liver, there's the lungs, etc. Everyone has its own function. The liver cannot replace what the heart does. The heart cannot replace what the kidneys does. And the spleen cannot replace what the pancreas does. Each one has its own mission. Every religion is a good religion as long as it functions to keep the body safe and healthy and well. God gave each one of us a mission, a specific mission. It doesn't mean that we are better than the others. For a body to exist, it needs all its organs to work together and to do what it's designed to do to its fullest and not to covet. If the heart wants to begin thinking like the brain and the brain wants to start pumping like the heart and the liver wants to start inhaling as the lungs, the body is not going to function. So let's all accept our religions that God put us in and let's grow it. Let's respect it. Let's respect each other's boundaries. Let's understand each other's theological differences. And just because we're different, it doesn't make us different. Let's pray and we hope that we can spread this word of unity to bring peace in the Middle East and peace throughout the world. God bless you. God loves you.